What is going on? It's Scott with Growing Entrepreneur, probably with my new favorite friend that I've had such a good opportunity to chat with, to get to know over the past couple weeks, Kristen. And we
Scott.
couldn't be more excited about the opportunity and more or less just talking about probably as we've been talking and discussing the most underutilized marketing tool out there. Maybe underutilized and probably even more importantly, not done in the right way, right? Where
Misunderstood. I think misunderstood.
misunderstood. The
Yeah.
the black sheep of marketing, I guess you could call it. So one of the things we were going to hop on here and talk about today is just how powerful an email marketing system could be, especially if you've been in business long enough where you started accumulating a list, you have a contact, you have an email, you got a phone number, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
What's the follow-up system looking like? What is your, getting your message and your passion in front of somebody, right? And so that way you can create an ecosystem, an omnipresence, and not only just, like don't want to just pull out your shotgun and just spray and pray, um, but being very targeted about everything in between. So we wanted to hop on here today, kind of go over a few things just as a or just a prime, like just how powerful this stuff could be. So I'm going to turn it over because I'm not the expert here. In fact, I'm the least expert in this room by all means, and probably my entire team. But like, Kristen, why is email marketing so misunderstood, and kind of why is it so powerful, and where do people just kind of drop the ball from your
Why
experience?
email? Yeah, right? Like got email? I think I did a post on my profile about that the other day. I think it's interesting because let's be honest, like email is not sexy. For like it's not the newest newfangled tool, like woohoo, let's wield this sucker and we're gonna be ahead of the pack and do all these cool things. It's been around for a long time. And I tried to stay away from it for a while myself, but I was kind of forced into it. And so I had to freaking figure it out. The entrepreneurial spirit, right? FFIO, baby. And so that's what I did. But it's interesting because when I look back on it, I go, why was I trying so hard to avoid it? And it was just because I didn't understand like how to wield it. But to be honest with you, an email address is the most plentiful resource on the planet if you're a marketer. If you think about it, like there are a dime a dozen. Like you can get email addresses without even trying. The bare minimum opt-in form is just an email address or maybe a first name and an email address. They're all over the place, but yet we take this plentiful marketing resource and we kind of like shun it. We set it over here and we go, okay, we're going to work on the text and the bots and the Facebook ads and all the stuff, right, that we want to do. And I think we're missing a huge opportunity. Well, I know we're missing a huge opportunity because I've been there, I've done that. And so I'm just wanting to talk about it. I think it's pretty freaking cool what we can do with email. What's really fun is if you think of it, email is kind of cheap. It like doesn't cost anything really to send it. You're barely paying anything to send, to like get your marketing out on that channel compared to other channels, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so if you can figure out how to wield email and get to the bottom line of like, what's this message to audience match thing that's going to actually work, and you're using essentially a free channel to do it, or a very, very low investment channel to do it, well, then once you learn how to do that, now you have the keys to the kingdom. So I like to use email as that vehicle. That's actually one of my favorite things to do.
100%. And I would be remiss to ask, what is probably the biggest mistake someone makes when they are choosing to go into email marketing? They do make
Yeah.
that decision. They're like, hey, everybody else is doing it. I obviously should be doing it. But where do you kind of see like the breakdown of where it's misunderstood essentially?
Yeah, I think the most common mistake is just the strategy, just in general, and I'll kind of go into that a little bit. But I don't want to do what everybody else is doing. First of all, I don't wake up in the morning going, man, I can't wait to be like everybody else. I can't wait to be average, right? I don't want to do average. I think that average people who do average things get average results. And sorry if that offends anybody, but I don't wake up in the morning going, man, I can't wait to be average. So when I'm looking at email strategy, I'm going, what is everybody else doing? And then I'm going the other direction. Like I want to do something different. I don't want to be that. I don't want to do that. And so I think that's one of the mistakes that a lot of marketers make, myself included. I did this, right? I looked around and I thought, well, what else is everybody doing? How are they writing their emails? How often are they sending them? What kinds of, what's the psychology they're using in there? How are they doing their calls to action? Like, how many times are they putting links in there? Like, all the stuff. I looked at all the stuff, right? And then I had to kind of step back and go, well, this isn't working, which a lot of people who send email will tell you. Email's dead. Email's not working. I send email maybe, I hear this all the time. People say I send email because I feel like I should. I have all these email addresses. Like, I feel like I should send email, but I don't really know what's coming of it. I can't really tell if it's working. I'm not really sure if it's actually getting, to the inbox in many cases, or, the numbers just aren't jiving with, like, I'm going to keep sending it because I'm supposed to. Right. So the biggest mistake I think that anyone can make when it comes to email is that they try to just treat their whole list as though it's a single person. Think about that for a second, right? Like, if you have a list of a couple thousand people, 20,000 people, 200,000 people, I don't care how many it is. They're all different. Like, it's not a one-to-many discussion. It's a one-to-one discussion. Every person on the other side of that email is a single person with, like, real pain and real frustration and real fears and real past experiences, maybe, that just kind of are weighing in on how things are going for them, right? Or what they're thinking they should or want to do. They also have goals and dreams and aspirations. So, like, if we're running our email strategy as though we're talking to a single person and we're just multiplying it by 10,000, let's say, well, then we're doing it wrong, right? I don't want to be treated like that. Look in your own email account, Scott. Have you looked at your own email lately? And just, like, I don't know how much of it you actually open and interact with, but the ones that you do, they resonate with you in some way, right? And all the rest of it is just noise. And it's because the people that are writing those emails, the way that they're, kind of wielding that channel or that strategy is more in a one-to-many fashion. So we've got to get to a place with email where we're talking to somebody right where they're at. We're going to go over to them and meet them right where they're at, instead of standing where we're at and going, come check out my products and services, like, ooh, it's a buy one, get one free, 24 hours left, like, all of the stuff, click here, right? Mm-hmm. That's not how you meet somebody right where they're at. So I think that's probably the biggest mistake. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I know we joked about it a few minutes ago. I got, 3 emails, different Gmail accounts pulled up, and man, I think one of them has like 238 unopened emails. So to your point, I'm like, it's not really worth my time, or if it's not worth my time, is it worth your market's time to open that? Well, there are a few emails that if I see one come through, I'm going to definitely click on it and be like, this person usually has something pretty cool to say. Whether or not that's a tip, trick, information, or maybe it is a call to action. But as you said, they're typically going to be the emails that are way more like driven to the individual, instead of just thinking, I can reach a lot of people by just doing a custom value at contact first name. And then boom, it's going to resonate with everybody. Said no.
And if you look at, like, if you're sending email, if you're a marketer and you're actually doing this because it's a channel that you're trying to wield, and you're looking at, let's say, just your open rates, right? Average open rates, 16 to 26%, maybe, across all industries, right? So if you're looking at your email numbers, if you're just looking at open rates, just because that's an easy kind of a target to look at, easy KPI to look at. If you're kind of in that range, 16 to 26%, congratulations. You're right in there with everybody else. But again, like, that's not what I wake up in the morning to do. So we shoot for 40s, 50s, and 60s just as a general rule. I have clients that get stuff 60s, 70s, 80s. I have a couple of clients that reach the 90s, and some of those are smaller batches, but I'm not talking like all the time, right? But we can send to tens of thousands of people. I have a client today who sent out about 30,000 emails, and he averages in the high 30s on his open rates, just on an average email. That's not my favorite number, but when you're sending something out to your whole entire list, that might actually be pretty good. Like, most marketers would look at that and go, what? When I first started marketing and trying this myself, and I would talk to other marketers and say, hey, what's a good open rate? Like, what should I be judging this by? And I had people say, if you're getting 10 or 12% opens, you're doing really good. And I was like, okay. I'm thinking that makes sense to me. I don't know what number I'm supposed to be thinking of. I'm here to tell you, if you're getting 10, 12% open rates, if you're getting sub-teen open rates, you're probably almost entirely in spam. There's a whole lot wrong with that, right? 16 to 26 being average. I'm not excited about that. So I'm not even going to be happy. Like, I run email for some clients. I don't want to name all of them, but anyway, I'm not happy unless I'm in the high 50s for opens. Like, I'm not even going to stop thinking about it unless I'm in the high 50s for opens on anything we send. It doesn't matter whether it's a drip or a particular campaign or a launch or whatever it is. I need those numbers just to feel good about myself, right? Because I know what email can be if you understand how to wield it.
Right. I couldn't agree more. I think that's when we speak to people, or we talk to other people, like, hey, what's good numbers? Like, oh, my open rate's great. It's at
Yeah.
15%. Well, how do we know that they're even interacting?
Right.
Um,
Or that it's getting
so,
in front of them. Yeah.
right. And obviously there's a very low percentage, that it's probably a good indication that there's work to be done, to build that trust factor, even with like the software side of things, right? Because that's where a lot of people obviously, like, I just got a new email account, 10,000 people, here you go. Like, boom. Uh, Probably
Yeah.
not going to work out for you.
Yeah. It's probably not a good idea. If you think about what other people are doing, and then you just think, well, I don't want to do that, right? Like, every spammer and their brother is going to take an email account and they're going to send out as much as they can, right off the bat. And so you probably don't want to do that, because you don't want to come off looking like a spammer. Even if you're not, you don't want to come off, you want to sort of avoid the appearance of evil, right? So it's good to kind of start off slow and ramp up when you're doing that kind of stuff. But more importantly, it's good to understand that not every person is the same. Like, I have a golf ball that I keep on my desk, just as a reminder. I don't even play golf. This is just kind of funny. So I'm probably going to use the wrong terminology, but I keep this golf ball on my desk to remind myself that, like, it's kind of like a golf course. And if you picture, like, the average marketer is gonna, and again, I've been there, I've done this, right? But the average marketer, when I was doing it, would line up like all 10,000 balls in the same spot on the course and right next to the hole, right? Like, that's how we looked at our email game. And then you would, send off the email blast to your whole list. And you know how, like, you send it out to everybody and you're just sort of like waiting and watching your numbers, and you're hoping that this email is going to be the thing that gets them to click or whatever it is. But what we're not realizing when we do something like that is that not every one of those balls, so to speak, is in the same spot on the course, right? Like, some of them are over in the sand traps, some are in the trees. I was joking with you one time about how some of them may have been swallowed by a duck, I don't know, or an alligator or something, crocodile. I don't know what's on golf courses, but it can't be good, right? And so you have to kind of think about your list like it's more like God himself just dropped golf balls all over the course and they're friggin' everywhere. That's your list. So
Right.
we can't stand by the hole and treat everybody as though they're this close to a conversion and we just need to get the putter out. You can't just grab, your bag of clubs and be like, you know what? I don't need these. Let me just grab the putter and I'll just use that for all, 18 holes. I'm going to do the whole 18 holes with the putter. It'll be fine. That's the typical, approach, is that we're just going to blast our list. And then a lot of people will say, well, what you need to do is carve out the most engaged, right? And send to them, let's say daily, every other day, something like that. And then, we'll slowly, we'll also send to the whole list every once in a while, see who's going to play with us, keep adding that over to the engaged. That's not my strategy. Because again, I have two buckets. I've a bunch of balls lined up here and a bunch of balls lined up over there. And I'm again trying to sort of treat every one of them like they're the same. So our strategy is a lot more specific than that, because I really do. My background is nursing, right? I'm a nurse, so I like to help people. I like to make sure that I'm treating people with respect. And I want to make sure that for our clients, like, your email is going to be the one that people can't wait to engage with. Like, they're going to go out of their way to make sure they don't miss your email. They're going to build a filter, right? And throw it into a folder that has your name on it, because they want to make sure that they don't miss those emails. Like, that's what I'm after. And the way that you do that is by making sure you understand who they are, where they're at in their journey, right message to the right person at the right time, at the right phase of awareness, under the right conditions. And how do we do that? It's not by sending out an email to a large portion or your entire list. It's just not. So
Right.
I hope
I
that
mean,
answered your question.
oh, it's perfect. I mean, it popped in my head. It almost sounds like if I stack 10,000 golf balls and I just pulled out my driver, I'm looking for the chance of success as if I'm going to get a hole in one. Uh,
That
yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen
might be
too
a
often.
problem.
Yeah, it
Again,
could
I
be.
don't play golf, but that sounds like it might be pretty hard.
Yeah, a hole in one on a par five might be tricky to tee off and get that one in. But no, I couldn't agree
He's
more.
throwing in terminology on me, you guys. I don't even know what par five means. If there's a test after this, I'm not going to pass it.
It's okay. I am the worst golfer. I just happen to know
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I'm a slice machine. Played too much baseball. Never converted over. Whoops. Actually, the worst banker or attorney. Um, but I think like you're kind of hinting on it, and then kind of that's where I would ask you like, what are the three things if someone did today? It would be like obviously not getting into the devil of the details here, but like three biggest like action items someone could walk away with and start utilizing their list or start when they're building that knowing like, okay, this is the direction I need to take it in.
Yeah.
Like what
Yeah.
would this possibly be?
I mean, we can go into like I'm actually going to do a workshop on Saturday so we can go into a lot of this deeper, but just for the sake of this conversation, if you think about just email deliverability in general, which is a huge part of strategy, getting in front of people obviously is going to play big time into the strategy. You can have a strategy, but if you're not in front of people, it doesn't matter. So it's email deliverability and strategy kind of like as a package. But if you're thinking about deliverability, getting in front of people, 10% of that game is technical.
Mhm.
The other 90% is behavioral. So when you're asking me for what's the three things people can do, number one, I mean, I'm in a cabin right now. I'm in like a 10 by 20 cabin up in the woods, right? And when we built this cabin, it was more like a barn raising. Our neighbors came over and they kind of helped us erect this thing over a 4th of July weekend, and it was really friggin' hot. And I had done all my due diligence, and I got like all of the pieces and parts they were going to need to build it, and I had the whole plans drawn out and everything. Like it was on paper, it was like amazing, right? And then the guys swoop in and everybody starts doing whatever it is that they're doing, and I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to make sure everybody has all the things that they need, including food and beverage, because it was really hot. And I look over and I see that there's like a couple of walls now coming up and they're starting to attach them together. And I look down and I see that the foundation that I had mapped out so carefully was not quite the way that I had mapped it out. Right. So in that moment, I had to go, these are people who are not charging me anything. They're neighbors. They're just doing it out of the goodness of their heart on a really hot weekend, a 4th of July weekend. It's a holiday. They should be going out and having some fun. Right.
Mhm.
And I chose not to say anything. I just was like, okay, I'm just going to bite my tongue on this and it's probably good enough and I'm probably just overthinking it, right? So we're just going to build the cabin. And to this day, I look at that and I go, okay, what do you need in order to support a house? A foundation, right? You need a foundation. And it's the same with email. When I walk around this cabin, so God forbid, like I'm sitting here talking to you right now and something happens, but when I walk around this cabin, it looks amazing. It makes me feel really good. I love the cabin. But if you're walking around on the floor, there's sunken parts and there's parts that are kind of like high points, and you can walk around the outside of the cabin and you can see like there's concrete, those blocks or whatever they're on the corner that are cracking and stuff, and it's settling wrong. And so my husband walks around in here and he goes, we're going to have to raise this thing this summer and we're going to have to like redo the foundation, which pains me because I should have done it right in the first place. So email deliverability is 10% technical, and that is a very important 10%. So we have to get all of the technicalities, all the stuff that none of us really want to have to think about, to be honest. We have to get that all right. And then we need to set it aside and not think about it. So that's the tools and how you've set up the back end and what your domain strategy is and all that kind of stuff, right? We can get into that another time. But 90% of deliverability is behavior. And what I find is that most of the people I talk with think it's the other way around. They think that 90% of deliverability is technical. It's the stuff that we bang our heads against the wall trying to figure out. And we're like, oh, I just don't understand this stuff. And it's frustrating, right? And then maybe the other 10% is like, oh, it's the words and phrases that I'm using. oh, it's, did I use a builder, or am I doing, plain text? I've got too much HTML in there. Like they kind of think it's a 90-10, but it's actually 10-90. So on the 90%, just to kind of give you something to go off of this call with, it fits into 3 basic buckets. So if I'm talking behavior and what drives deliverability, the first bucket is volume and consistency. How much can I send? How fast can I send it? And how often should I be sending it? Should being the operative word, right? The second bucket is engagement. How well are people picking up what you're putting down? When you send out all those emails, are you getting opens and clicks and replies, or are you getting bounces and complaints and unsubscribes? And what about all of the other stuff we don't have statistics or insight into, because the big players, like, they don't share that with us. They don't tell us how many of your emails got deleted without even being opened. You ever do that in your email account? Delete, 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 right? They don't tell us that stat. They don't tell us if somebody stars your email either, right?
Right.
They don't tell us if someone opens it and deletes it. We see an open, but we don't see the delete after, right? We don't see the open and then the star after. So there's a lot of stuff happening back there, but the ones that we can see, engagement being that big bucket, we need to know that we're getting the opens, clicks, and replies, and not getting the bounces, complaints, and unsubscribes, right? And there's an art to all of this stuff. And then the third bucket is on behavioral, is really more like, I call it the ins and outs. I'm a nurse, so I can't help it. It's eyes and nose, right? If anybody's out there that's clinical, you know what I'm talking about. But it's all the stuff that we do sort of like in and outside of our email. It starts with, who are we when we show up at the door? And I can tell you a funny story about that. I was running some email for a company called Chamber Media. They're one of my clients. I do their email marketing. And the very first decent campaign that I ran for them was really just kind of like a test. It was like, I was really just kind of warming some stuff up, and I was trying some things because I needed to know what's going to work, what's not going to work, right? Mm-hmm. And I sent out an email, and I did it 2 different ways. I sent it out as the company, and I sent it out as the sales rep, because I wanted to know, like, when I show up at the door, which one of those is going to get the door opened for me, right? And I found out very clearly who I need to be when I show up at the door. That was an important thing. We also accidentally made $98,500 off of that. That was fun. So they're like, oh, you just paid for your entire contract. Do whatever you want. I'm like, yes, that's awesome, right? So what I'm saying is, like, the way that we kind of like put all this stuff together matters. It's the from name, the from address, the subject line. Everybody knows that plays, right? The first couple lines of copy. Those 4 things alone, think about it. Those 4 things alone control the open, assuming that you're in front of somebody, right? Assuming that you're actually in a place where they're going to see your email, like the inbox. But those 4 things control the open. And then you get inside the email, and now there's all kinds of other stuff that could happen. And it's a long list. There's hundreds of things that goes into email deliverability. So, my nerdy job is just to know which of those things we have any level of control over at all, and then just help my clients control the crap out of it. Mm-hmm. That's really I'm a nerd. That's what I do, right? But I would say that, like, that's it. It's 10% technical. It's 90% behavioral. Volume and consistency, engagement, and all the silly things that we, myself included, I've done this, do in and around our email, because we think that's how email marketing is supposed to be done. And in reality, it's actually causing us to get stuck in those spam filters, right? It's actually causing those conversions to not happen. It's causing somebody to, mark it as spam or unsubscribe, or just not take the call to action and delete, right? Mm-hmm. That was a mouthful.
Oh, no, it's perfect. And I know that's like, just kind of like a teaser / a taste, just like anything else in business. I mean, there's no magic pill. There's no, if you do this one thing and then now all of a sudden you're going to blow up, but it's piecing it all together. And like, I'm an operations guy, and I say the exact same thing. If you're building a company, you got to have a blueprint and a solid foundation to build upon, or else like, you're going to pay a lot to someone like myself if they have to come into your company when you've hit a wall and you're like, we just don't know what to do. I'm like, great. Now we got to we literally got to raise the foundation. We got to plug it. We got to fix it. And then we got to move forward. So I couldn't thank you enough for those 3 tips, because they're huge. But sometimes it's like, oh, I know that, but if we knew it, then why aren't we doing it, type thing.
Well, I mean, it's like anything. I want to give everybody credit. Like everybody who's sending email, kudos. Like it's a big thing to like bite that bullet and send those emails, even though you're not really sure how it's working or if it's working or how to tell, or if it's not working, what are you supposed to do about it? And most of us who are doing that, we're doing it on behalf of someone who's paying us money.
Right.
Right. We're doing it on behalf of a client. And so it's a big responsibility and it's a big undertaking and it can be very overwhelming. But congratulations. Like if that's something that you're doing, kudos to you, because a lot of people won't even touch it. Right.
Mhm.
It's not that it's all that difficult to do. It's really simple. It's just not, as they would say, it's just not easy because there's a lot to it. And those hundreds of things that play into deliverability, it's not like there's a white paper. It's not like Google sort of like plastered a white paper on the internet that says, here's all of our spam filtering mechanisms and how you can avoid them. I mean, that's not out there, right?
No.
Here's all the rules and regs for how you're going to get in the inbox versus promotions versus the spam folder. Like they don't tell us that kind of stuff. We have to kind of figure it out, right? And
Mhm.
I think I like to turn chaos into order, and I'm very competitive. As you can probably tell, I'm extremely competitive. I compete with my dang self, right?
Yeah.
so so I guess I've kind of like got the arrows in my back, and I have paid dearly for some of those. I've had some hard conversations with clients in the past, and I won't say that those things were fun, but on the other side of that is like, whoa, I had no idea that was possible.
Mhm.
I had no confidence in it before. I have 100% confidence. I know what the frick I'm doing now with email, and that feels really, really good, but it took a lot to get there. So really what this is all about is just making sure that other people get some of those questions answered too, because by the way, I'm getting all your email, like not yours personally, Scott. I mean, some of it for sure, but I'm just saying like I'm one of the recipients of all of that crap too. We all are. We have those email accounts that are just full of caca, right? And so I guess part of me wakes up in the morning going, what role can I play to clean this mess up? Because it's a mess and it needs to be cleaned up. And if more people who did email marketing understood these basics, I think we would all find that the stuff that's showing up in our accounts is actually something we're interested in. What an amazing idea that might be. Yeah.
Who would have thought it? Uh, I love it. And yeah, and that's like transitions me to this. Like, this upcoming Saturday, you're putting on a workshop, completely free, like what we
Yeah.
talked about. You're probably gonna be at home, but you can leave all your payment mechanisms, in your wallet, in your purse. Because even just talking about these three things, that that's just the top or the tip of the iceberg. And boy, how deep does that iceberg go? Um, and so even this Saturday, we're going to dig deep with Kristen. She's going to literally show you how you can get the keys to the kingdom using your marketing, using your
Yeah.
email.
Yeah.
Um, she's got a beautiful 4-step process she's going to go through. Getting people to actually getting that email to the inbox. What's it going to take for you and your emails to stay in that inbox and be able to focus on the behaviors of your prospects. And as like what she's kind of hinted at is how do you actually turn those emails and your campaigns into something that would be considered profitable? So if you're not
Yeah.
generating revenue, why are you doing emails? Like
Otherwise, why bother?
why
Yeah,
bother?
exactly.
I believe you said it the best a few days ago when we were chatting. It's like unless you're able to do that or convert client or prospects into clients, you're never going to be able to serve your intended market. Um,
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm glad that you brought that up because that's another thing. As you can see, like I actually care about the people on the other side of this whole thing. And I think all of us as business owners, we didn't start our business purely based on you making a ton of money. Like that's definitely an awesome benefit. And we all want to make money from our businesses. But like we first came up with an idea,
mhm,
right? Or we first figured out how to solve a problem.
right.
We first created a product or a service or whatever it is. And so all of us, when we start our businesses, we're like, oh, this is really cool. Other people might need this or want this. Other people might find that this helps solve their problem or address their pain. Other people might have a goal or a dream, to achieve whatever it is that you're helping them with. So I think we all started out that way. And we just need to kind of go back to that place and remember that that's why we're doing all of this stuff And the money just comes from it. You're not out there to turn a dollar. You're out there to transform someone's experience. It's transformational. And if we're doing that well, I think we're serving not just us, we're serving the people that we are intending to serve with our product or service. And then a lot of times we're serving the people that they serve, depending on who our clients are, right? Or who our prospects are. So there's a reach and an impact that goes with it that also gets me very, very excited.
Right. And every time we've talked, it's been some of the most passionate email marketing conversations I can tell you I've ever had, without a doubt. And I think that's like going to be the beauty of like putting on this event for everybody is, it is a workshop. That's all it is. It's something where
Yeah.
kind of build you up. So then, as we mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, you're able to then walk away and know the exact blueprint of what you need to do to get the keys to the kingdom, as you mentioned.
And that's it. Yeah. I mean, Brendan, obviously, you guys work together. Brendan is a friend of mine, and he's like, how this happens to me all the time. How do you do what you do? Right.
Right.
Like we helped a client bring in a little over $1 million in a month recently. And it was a fairly small amount of people on the list. And 3 emails over the course of like 18 days, I think it was. And people are always like, well, how does that happen? And it didn't happen the first day that I started working with them. It's not like I showed up one day and we sent out 3 emails and it just magically turned into $1 million. Like it takes time and attention, and you have to nurture it. Right. But
Mhm.
everybody always asks me, like, what do you do? How do you do this? And so I said, well, shoot, let's just do like a workshop and I'll show you, like I told him, I said, just invite some of your clients or invite whoever you want to come to it. And it turned into something bigger because now we're just like, hey, anybody who wants to come is fine with me. Honestly, it's a fun way to spend a Saturday for me. Cause as you can see, I love this crap. So, and it just helps me answer that question for a lot of people at the same time. So plus I'm going to get a ton of content out of it. Let's be honest. So, you're helping me if you're showing up and listening to me talk about my silly foundation stories, and I'll tell some other funny stories too, because I do think I'm funny. And hopefully I'll get a few laughs out of it. But we're just gonna have fun. So we're gonna spend a little time on Saturday, and I'm just gonna go through the entire process. And I'll that client that I told you about, I'll use them kind of as a case study, and I'll be like, here's what we did, here's what we did, here's what we did. And so I hope what you walk away from this whole thing with, the first thing I want you to walk away from it with is like, holy cow, I did not know that was possible. Right? Like, let's expand the horizon a little bit and realize that there is something here that's tangible that you are so close to being able to grab a hold of. It's not even funny. Right? Some of you are so close to turning that list into $1 million list. It's not even funny. And then, I'm the guy that comes along with the hammer in that old story, right? About the guy that comes along and just hits the ship or whatever and bills $10,000 or whatever. Like, I'm the guy that's gone through all of the crap to get to the place where I just know which tool to use and where to hit. Right. So I'm just going to share that stuff with you because I think that you're so close to it that you probably can't see it sometimes. And then at the end of that workshop, I want you to walk away going, okay, I have some things that I can practically apply. There are some actual next steps that I can take to make this happen. It's not a webinar. It's going to be on a Zoom webinar because that's the tool that I choose to use, right? But it's not like a webinar, one of those weird things where I'm going to, talk like, well, I'm not going to name any names, but anyway, it's a workshop, right? So bring a notepad, bring a pencil, and be ready to take some notes because I intend to throw down, man. This is going to be fun. I'm so excited about it. And like I said, I'm going to get a ton of content out of it. So let's have some fun with it.
Right. Yeah, 100%. I couldn't be more excited because, as I said, it could just be the littlest tweak that makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
And just using all your experiences, going through the case study of your recent client and their success. But like you said, it's just like any other marketing tool. You can't just flip a switch and then tomorrow you're, the next Russell Brunson. You do have to, you have to
Right.
build it, you have to refine it, and you have to test it, like all the good stuff. So that's exactly what you're going to be able to walk away with an actionable step to get your list to start generating revenue for you, or at least get your messaging in front of the target market that you want to serve. So
Yeah.
that way you are building that confidence, that brand identity, the awareness, and it becomes probably the cheapest marketing tool in your entire arsenal that can generate massive ROI,
It's
and
so powerful. Yeah,
incredibly
for all
powerful.
kinds of reasons.
And we couldn't be more excited to introduce you to our like market, to like get you in front of our groups, things like that, because we know that if you can help them out with just giving them the action items, because we can't. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you, we're not the email marketer specialist, nor do we ever claim to be. Because we'd have a lot of difficult conversations about like, I thought you told us we could do this.
Well, not everybody has the nerd tattoo across their forehead. It's okay. I'm
Listen,
sure you have lots of nerd tattoos of your own related to other topics. So this just happens to be my crazy topic.
right. We all focus on our crazy. So, but yeah, that's the big thing is here. This upcoming Saturday, there's a link in the description of this live where you can register. And again, it's free. There's nothing for sale. It is truly the blueprint, the case study, the breakdown, and the action items you can take into next week to ramp up your very own email marketing and do it in a way that's actually going to convert.
Yeah.
So
And then I double dog dare you to reach out to me and tell me what you implemented and how it worked. I want to hear those stories. That would be so freaking fun. I was speaking at an event last June. Actually, it's the same event I'm speaking at here pretty soon in it was August last year. I'm speaking there in June. It's the Commitment Summit. So if you're on my profile, you might see me talking about the Commitment Summit. I'm blessed and honored to be invited back to speak again. But when I was out there last year speaking, I did a special session for people. Like we went off into a different space and I spent 3.5 hours maybe with them, kind of doing what I'm going to do on the work session basically. And I challenged all of them and I said, hey, here, like at the end of this, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do it. And then 2 days later, I was actually going to be on stage speaking. And I told them, I want you to do this. And then I want you to tell me what the results were that you got, because I want to talk about it. Right.
mhm.
I mean, I laid it all out there. Like, if you do this, it will work. And so I double dog dare you to do it. Right. And there were people who did it. And what was funny is when I was on stage in the middle of my presentation, the power went out. The power went out. Like I'm in this pitch black space on a stage that I'm afraid to move because I couldn't see anything. I didn't know what I was going to trip over or where I was going to fall. And then as the power started to come back on, we of course had to wait a while for the internet and all the stuff, right? And so I just took it as an opportunity to take questions. And I asked the audience because I couldn't really see very well. And I was like, which of you were in this special session with me, right? And people raised their hand. And I said, and how many of you implemented what I dared you to implement? And there were a few people that raised their hand. And I said, and what were your results? And I didn't know all of the things they were going to say. I didn't know, like I'm not worried about it either, because frankly, I just know it freaking works, right? And so there were people who actually shared their results in the middle of this big crowd while we were waiting for all the power and everything to like come back on. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, like, yes, this can happen. It really, really, really can happen. It's not magic. It's magically delicious. Okay. But what I did with them in about 3.5 hours is basically what I'm going to do with people on Saturday. And I do double dog dare you to implement it. I absolutely double dog dare you to implement and then tell me about it and let's have some fun. Heck
Love
yes.
it. I love it. So double dog dare to show up.
Double dog dare. That's a pretty big deal. I don't know how old you are, but back in the day, like a double dog dare was pretty important.
That's pretty big.
You don't walk away from that.
I don't know. It just brings up the little rascals, I think, in my mind. But no, I love it. The double dog dare. I mean, that's pretty powerful marketing right there.
I actually wrote an email for Chamber Media that has that in it. Double dog dare.
Hey,
I can't help it.
Hey, there's nothing wrong. That's funny. I mean, if you make them more personal, I mean, why not? That's all good copy.
Oh,
So yeah, 100%. This upcoming Saturday with the link in the description, you can sign up again, no cost. It's only going to tremendously benefit your entire email marketing campaign, like no joke. It so you'll see it all in the description below. It is this upcoming Saturday I believe it's 12
It's
p.m.
Saturday at noon Pacific. I'm in Oregon, right? Up on one of the mountain passes next to a ski area. So I'm in the middle of the forest out here, and it's going to be noon Pacific. But for all of you who don't live over here where I live, we'll just call it like 3 p.m. Eastern. That might make sense to a lot more of the people than just me. But yeah, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. And like I said, come with something to write with, and let's have some fun. I'm really excited about this.
I couldn't be more excited because, as you said, it could just be the hammer on the ship
Yeah.
that you're going into next week. You can launch your own campaigns, do what you need to, and then like, wow, we're gonna see. But yes, there should be a link in the description below that will take you to the like opt-in that's going to allow you to get
Yeah.
the link sent to you.
And if there's not, Harry, I see your comment on here. We'll make sure that link gets in there. I can't see it right now because I'm looking at a camera, but you will not be without a way to register. So we'll make sure that gets in there as soon as we're done with the live if you can't see it.
No description.
Interesting. Thanks, Harry.
Should
Appreciate
be. Gotta
that.
love tech solutions, baby. All right.
Right?
Get that. Love it. So yes, great. Any last like comments or shares or anything from
No,
your
I
end?
mean, thank you. I guess thank you to you and Brandon and Mike and Mikey and the whole team. Like, thank you for, I think, double dog daring me, to just sort of open this up into a workshop style thing because the only time I've ever done that was at that event. And it never occurred to me that we do something like this and just have some fun. So actually, I'm really looking forward to Saturday. Because I can like shut down everything else and I can just have a ton of fun with whoever shows up on this thing. And it's just going to be, I'm going to have a great time. So I know you're going to have a great time because you're either going to be laughing at me or you're going to be laughing with me. And either one of those is fine.
Love it. And that's the point. We're gonna have some fun, do some good stuff. So again, we'll make sure to get the link out there, make sure everybody's got it. If you have questions, concerns, obviously you can reach out to any one of us at Growing Entrepreneur, or you can reach out directly to Kristen. We'll be able to answer your questions, do whatever we need to pre-event. And we look forward to be able to put this on for you guys so you guys can definitely walk away with the most underutilized marketing tool out there today.
Sweet. Let's do it.
Awesome, everybody. Well, we'll see you Saturday, and we are super excited to be able to help you out.
All right. See you on the inside.